Here's something almost nobody knows about one of the most famous people on the planet. The single biggest phone call of his career, the one that made him rich, famous, and beloved in roughly 100 countries, never actually happened. There was no call. He found out he'd landed the part of Spider-Man the same way you would have. He read it on the internet. And that one small indignity, that one missing phone call, may just explain the strangest quirk of his entire public life. This is not a story about a superhero. This is not a story about a red carpet. This is a story about a stage school kid from a town outside London who learned to dance before he learned to drive, got sober before he turned 25, built a beer company while wearing spandex for a living, and somehow became the one-child performer in a generation who walked the tightrope of early fame and didn't fall off. He's 30 years old. He has 2 blockbuster movies in theaters this very month, and he still cannot be trusted to know the ending of anything. This is Tom Holland. 15 things you probably didn't know. We're counting up from 15 to 1, and the last one ties the whole thing together. Stay with me for that. Let's begin. Number 15. The self-made star has an asterisk, and it's a good one. His full name is Thomas Stanley Holland. He was born in June of 1996 in Kingston upon Thames, just outside London, the oldest of 4 boys, twins Sam and Harry, and the youngest, Patty. Now, the fan version of the story likes to frame him as a working-class kid who came from nowhere. The reality is a little more textured. His father, Dominic, is a professional comedian and author. His mother, Nicola, is a photographer. This was a household built on performance and long odds. A family that understood, from the inside, exactly how volatile a career in entertainment could be. Which matters because it means Holland didn't stumble into show business by accident. He was, in a sense, raised in the wings of it. That's not a knock. It's just the footnote the highlight reel usually skips. Number 14. Before he was Spider-Man, he was Billy Elliot. Here's the detail that reframes everything. Long before Marvel, Holland was a stage kid, and not a background one. He trained in dance, and by the age of 12, he was playing the title role in Billy Elliot the Musical in London's West End. The lead, 8 shows a week, as a child. If you've ever wondered why his Spider-Man moves so convincingly, why the flips and the mid-air twists don't look like a stunt double-bolted on in editing, this is why. The body control came first. The superhero came second. Number 13. His film debut was not a small one. Most actors ease into movies with a line here, a background role there. Holland's first film was The Impossible, released in 2012, in which he played a boy separated from his family during a catastrophic tsunami, opposite Naomi Watts and Ewan McGregor. He was 16, and he was, by broad critical agreement, the emotional center of the film. Watts has since credited him directly. This is the part of the resume that quietly answers the skeptics who assume he's just a franchise mascot. The kid could genuinely act before he ever put on the mask. Number 12. He got his foot in Marvel's door with an email to Thor. This one is delightful, and it's true. While working on the 2015 seafaring film In the Heart of the Sea, Holland met Chris Hemsworth, the man who plays Thor. So when it was announced that Spider-Man was being rebooted as a joint Sony and Marvel production, Holland emailed Hemsworth to ask if he'd put in a good word. Let that sit for a second. The now global movie star's networking strategy was essentially texting a bigger movie star and asking for a favor. It's the most relatable thing a future Avenger has ever done. And here's the thing. It worked. But it was only the beginning. Number 11. The audition process was, in his own words, horrible. Nothing about landing this role was quick. By Holland's account, the process stretched across roughly 7 months and 6 separate auditions, during which the studio told him almost nothing. Eventually, he was flown to Atlanta to screen test, opposite Robert Downey Jr., which he later called the best audition of his life, the two of them riffing off each other in real time. Then came another test, a fight scene with Chris Evans' Captain America, which he described as surreal. Director Joe Russo, who was in the room, put it plainly. Holland reminded him of everything he loved about Peter Parker as a kid. And in his words, he was a movie star. 7 months, 6 auditions. And then, silence. Number 10. He found out he got the part from Instagram. Yes, really. And here's where the story gets strange. After all those months of waiting, Marvel didn't call. Holland has told this story more than once. He saw a post on Marvel's Instagram directing people to their website to learn the identity of the new Spider-Man. At that point, he assumed he'd lost the role, because surely, he figured, they'd have called him first out of basic respect. He clicked through anyway. The website announced Tom Holland as the next Spider-Man. By his own retelling, he flipped his laptop into the air, it fell off the bed, and the dog went nuts. Remember this moment. We're coming back to it, because it may explain absolutely everything about the man. Number 9. He does his own stunts, and the gymnastics are not for show. Now let's give the man his due, because this part is real, and it's earned. Holland is a trained gymnast and dancer, and he performs a great deal of his own physical work on camera. The backflips, the acrobatic Spider-Man posing, the way he moves. That's a genuine skill he built over years, not a visual effect. In an industry where "does his own stunts" is often a generous press release exaggeration, Holland is one of the rare cases where the phrase mostly holds up. The talent underneath the franchise is not manufactured. It's the thing that got him in the door in the first place. Number 8. He's dyslexic, and he's turned it into a mission. Holland was diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 7, and his family moved him to a school better equipped to support him. More recently, he's also spoken publicly about having ADHD, discussing how both can make the blank canvas part of building a character feel intimidating. He hasn't treated this as a private footnote. He's spoken about a long-term ambition to help open a school in his home area for kids who might not otherwise afford strong educational support. It's the kind of goal that doesn't generate headlines the way a movie premiere does, which is probably exactly why it's worth mentioning. Number 7. Marvel genuinely does not trust him with a script. Okay, here's the one you've been waiting for. Tom Holland is, by broad and cheerful consensus, one of the worst spoiler risks in the history of the film industry. He has revealed plot points on live television. He has confirmed the existence of movies before they were announced. There is a well-worn industry legend, encouraged by the cast themselves, that Marvel started handing him fake scripts, or scripts with the real ending withheld, purely to contain the damage. His co-star from the Avengers films, the one playing Doctor Strange, reportedly took to simply not telling him things. Think about the absurdity of this. Studios spend tens of millions of dollars building airtight secrecy around their biggest releases. Armed guards, color-coded pages, code names, and then hand the lead role to a man who cannot get through a morning talk show without accidentally announcing the third act. And they cast him anyway, 4 times. Because he's worth it. Number 6. He runs a charity with his 3 brothers, and it's remarkably efficient. Let's shift gears, because here's the part that doesn't fit the goofy spoiler guy image. In 2017, the Holland family founded the Brothers Trust, a charity run by Tom, his 3 brothers, and their parents, using his fame as the engine to raise money for smaller organizations that struggle to be heard. And this isn't a vanity plaque on a wall. The trust is run entirely by volunteers with no paid trustees, which means an unusually high share of the money raised goes straight out as grants. The reported figure runs above 98%. They throw genuinely charming events to fund it, including an annual pub quiz that has pulled in famous friends. It is, quietly, one of the more well-run celebrity charities out there. Not the flashiest fact about him. Maybe one of the best. Number 5. He anchors the highest-grossing Spider-Man run in history. Now let's talk about the scale of it. Holland has played Spider-Man across a string of Marvel films, and the numbers are the kind that reshape a career. The third solo film, No Way Home, released in 2021, became a global phenomenon, grossing in the neighborhood of $1.9 billion worldwide. That is not a successful movie. That is one of the highest-grossing films ever released. Full stop. A pandemic-era release that dragged audiences back into theaters when many had written the cinema off entirely. His Spider-Man films collectively stand as the highest-grossing trilogy of all time. A stage kid who found out about his casting from a website now headlines some of the most valuable filmed entertainment on earth. Number 4. He built a real business out of quitting drinking. And this is where the money story gets genuinely interesting, because it has nothing to do with acting. Holland has been open about stopping drinking, describing a dry January that simply never ended. Rather than just talk about it, he built something. In late 2024, he co-founded a non-alcoholic beer brand called Barrow, that's NA, non-alcoholic, alongside beverage industry veteran John Herman. This could easily have been a throwaway celebrity licensing deal. It wasn't. Barrow scaled into more than 4,000 retail locations, including major chains, and became the top-selling non-alcoholic beer on Amazon and a leading seller at Target. It reported close to $10 million in sales in its first year, with 2026 revenue projected to more than double. And in early 2026, it was reported to have raised money from an investment firm at a valuation north of $100 million. Here's the detail that makes it work. By the company's own account, more than 80% of Barrow's customers still drink alcohol. In other words, he didn't build a product that lectures people. He built one they'd actually buy. Whatever you think of celebrity brands, and most of them deserve your skepticism, this one is a real company, built out of a genuine personal turn. No punchline here. That one's just impressive. Number 3. His most famous co-star became his wife. Now for the part the whole internet already suspects it knows, told carefully, because the couple has guarded it fiercely. Holland met Zendaya on the set of the first Spider-Man film, back in 2016. They went public as a couple in 2021, and they became engaged in December of 2024. In a June 2026 interview, Holland himself confirmed the two had married. What's striking isn't the romance, it's the discipline. Two of the most photographed people of their generation, working together repeatedly, and yet the actual milestones of their private life have mostly stayed private, surfacing on their terms and almost never anyone else's. For a man who cannot keep a movie secret to save his life, he and his wife have proven remarkably good at keeping the ones that actually matter. Number 2. Right now, this month, he's pulling off a genuinely rare double. Here's the part that makes the summer of 2026 the strangest flex of his entire career. In July, Holland has 2 enormous films in theaters at essentially the same time. One is Christopher Nolan's epic adaptation of The Odyssey, in which he plays Telemachus, a serious, prestige award season kind of role. There's a lovely wrinkle to how he got it too. By his own telling, Zendaya, who plays the goddess Athena in the same film, pushed him to take the part, jokingly warning she'd leave him if he didn't. The other film is Spider-Man: Brand New Day, his 4th solo outing as the web-slinger, directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, in theaters July 31st. A prestige Nolan drama and a Marvel tentpole, 2 weeks apart. Very few actors on Earth can occupy both of those lanes at once. He's doing it before turning 31, and he earned it the hard way. He reportedly suffered a concussion during filming on the Spider-Man set, pausing production for a week. The spandex is not as easy as it looks. And number 1, the kid who found out from a website. Let's go back to that laptop. Remember it. The moment he learned he was Spider-Man, not from a phone call, not from an agent, but from a public post on the internet. The same way total strangers found out. Here's the theory, and it's the thread that ties this whole story together. Maybe the reason Tom Holland can't keep a secret is that the biggest secret of his life was never actually kept for him. Nobody sat him down. Nobody made him feel like an insider. He found out with the crowd. And ever since, whether he means to or not, he keeps letting everyone else in on the surprise too, as if secrecy is a game he was never really invited to play. We've seen the child performer to global fame pipeline many times before. A kid gets handed an enormous career before they're old enough to understand it, gets surrounded by people paid to say yes. And far too often, the story curdles. The headlines turn sad. The talent gets buried under the fame. The names change. The script usually doesn't, except here, so far it did. The West End kid grew up, stayed sober, married the person he met at work, built a real company, gave money away carefully, kept doing his own flips, and became one of the most bankable actors alive. All while remaining, by every visible account, a fundamentally decent and slightly leaky human being. That's the rarest fact of all. Not the box office, not the beer company. The fact that he made it through with himself intact. So let me leave you with three things. First, the record. A genuinely trained performer from a stage before a screen, who anchored the highest-grossing Spider-Man run in history and built an 8-figure business on the side. Second, the insight. Fame usually breaks the people it lifts youngest. And the interesting story is not that Holland got famous, but that he seems to have survived it. And third, the human part. For all the movie star polish, the most charming thing about him remains that he still, to this day, cannot be trusted with the ending of a film he is personally starring in. So here's my question for you, and I actually want to know, which one is the real Tom Holland? The disciplined operator who quietly built a company and guarded a marriage? Or the guy who'd spoil his own movie live on air? Or is the answer that he's somehow both at once? Tell me in the comments. Drop your favorite accidental Tom Holland spoiler while you're at it. I read them. And if you've got a pick for the most surprising second act in Hollywood, make your case below.